My name is Janelle Gonzalez, and I believe falling and rising is a constant in life, but it can bring us closer to accessing a deeper part of ourselves and can lead us to a more purposeful way of living. In choosing to rise daily, we allow all parts of ourselves to be seen. We no longer wait for the messiness to be gone or wait for the perfect time. We start living. I am here with you as a guide, not standing in judgment, but hopefully holding space and simply encouraging you. I am also on the journey with you. I want to share my knowledge through my experiences and the tools we all have access to. Through my principles and tools backed by spiritual work and science, I hope you will find support in rising to your higher self. So join me in this conversation, and together we will rise to a limitless life. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I am so excited to start this journey with you. I have my friend Courtney here with me. I want this to feel organic and conversational. First and foremost, I am a writer, so this is new to me. I hope we can just go through life together and that I can give you some tools on how to live a more meaningful life.
Thank you for having me on. I feel so honored to be here with you. I kind of have a little glimpse on what we're going to talk about, and I'm so excited for people to hear your story and the tools that you have prepared for us to all find our higher self and rise to be the best version of ourselves that we're supposed to be. So thank you. Thank you for committing to this process, and thank you for opening this door for us to hear from you. I mean, I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited to start.
Where did this all start? Not just the show, but your desire to rise. Where did that come from?
As a child, I was connected to myself more than ever. And somewhere along the way, I lost my power, or I gave it away. It wasn't until later in life that I realized that I could get it back and I could start living life from a more authentic place. And I wanted to help others on that journey as well. And that we could live a much more joyful, meaningful life if we are just able to access that part of ourselves that we had as children, which was our true nature, and connecting back to that. And that's where our power lies. And that really is the key to living from a place of wholeness.
Was there a specific memory or moment in time that you remember that you kind of felt like you needed to change who you were?
I was always the tallest girl in the class. So I was visibly seen, but I wasn't really seen for who I really was. I remember feeling very insecure. I remember fourth grade when my teacher said, let's all line up by height. And I was in the back with the boys, and I was visibly hidden at that point. And I think it kind of set the course for the rest of my life. You're tall and you have a presence, but can you just be less loud, less visible, and just kind of go with the crowd? Don't ruffle feathers. That really set the tone for the rest of my life. I basically started giving my power away to whatever society deemed was appropriate or acceptable, because I wanted to garner that. I wanted to be accepted. And that's how I basically went through my entire life, is going along with what everybody else wanted for me. But I didn't want to subscribe to that, but I didn't know how to access my power and say no. So I went along with a lot of what other people thought was in my best interest. That's why I started The Rising, because I want people to connect back to themselves. They were conditioned, just like I was conditioned, to accept whatever was given, and that you have to go along with what everybody else is doing. And it works for a lot of people, but then for some it doesn't. At some point, it doesn't feel right to you. And you're not listening to that voice because you keep drowning it out with everybody else's voice. So The Rising really was, for me, a way for people to connect back to themselves, which is their higher self, and knows the way for you to live the life that is meant for you, and to seek out experiences that fill you with joy and fulfillment. And it's about following things that align with your inner guide. So that really is what the community is about. And it's about people connecting with each other, because oftentimes you feel lonely on this journey, because a lot of people in the growth phase don't have the support of other people, and they often feel very alone. So I wanted people to connect here. I wanted to be a source of support. I wanted to hold space for people on this journey. And they have the tools. You have them. It's just, I'm here to guide you. You have all the power. It's just you reconnecting back to yourself, your true nature. And as children, I highly believe that we were always connected to that source. It's just somewhere along the way, we lost touch with that.
I completely agree. I think probably from spending time with you over the last few months, I have come to the realization, to your exact point, that maybe it's not about becoming this better version of ourselves. It's all about getting back to who we were originally designed to be and finding our purpose and our original truest self versus this like better self. Where on this journey did you realize that you had lost your power?
I always wanted to be a writer, and I ignored that. And it was something I always wanted to do. But there was a moment when I was 16 and I was writing in my diary my deepest feelings, and they were normal teenage emotions. I wasn't doing anything bad. And at 16, you can become a little bit reserved with your parents, closed off, moody. You're going through hormonal changes. And my mother, because she cared, was just wondering, what is going on with her? And one day she read my diary, and I remember the day she sat me on the couch with my grandfather there and my godmother and confronted me on some of the things that I had written. And they were very vulnerable. I felt exposed. I felt shame. And I vowed from that day forward to never write that way again, from a vulnerable state. And I buried that dream. So I wrote for the sake of school and research, those type of things, but I never wrote again for personal reasons up until 6 months ago at 43. So we're talking almost 30 years that I buried that. And to now follow this dream, excavate it, and really pursue it, that was pivotal for me. And a lot of people in my life are like, this is new. You're a writer? But I was always a writer. That was always in me. That was always something I was passionate about. I just buried it. But it's so powerful when you can connect back to something that lit you up as a child. We can still do that as adults. It's not too late. And that's why I want to help people early on in this journey. Like, it's not too late. You can go back to that child that loved certain interests, hobbies, passions. You can connect to that again.
If someone's listening to this and might be thinking, well, what's the point? Why would I want to do the work of going back to being my childlike self? My childlike self was messy and immature, and maybe for some people it could feel a bit chaotic to think about going back to that state. But what have you identified would be the reason that, no, this is the better way to live?
If you want to live a more joyful, meaningful life, sometimes I think you have to go back to your younger self, because your younger self really knew who they were. And I see it in my own children. There's something in their eyes that is lit up and sparked by things that they genuinely enjoy. And they live from a more authentic place. And they're not so concerned about what everybody else is thinking about them. They are in pure enjoyment. They are actually living life. And as adults, that gets lost along the way. We're not really living anymore. We're just reacting to whatever life presents to us. And then we keep going through the motions. But a lot of us don't really stop to think, is this the way I want to keep living? Some of us don't. We're just like, this isn't bringing me any pure contentment. This isn't filling me up. Why do I feel bad all the time? Or why am I anxious? Why am I constantly seeking things outside of myself to bring me happiness? As we go through life, we're trying to check off boxes. I graduated from college. Check. What comes after college? I have to get married. Check. I have to have 2.5 kids, the house, the pet, whatever it is. We're going through life like that. It's a series of checking boxes. But along the way, a lot of us don't stop to question, is this right for me? Is marriage the only option? Kids, do I really want kids? Or is it because society's telling me I have to have kids? Do I have to live in this house? That may not fit with what I truly want. What if what I want is different than what mainstream wants for me? So it's a constant checking in with yourself. You have to check in. If that feels right to you, then by all means do it. But don't be afraid to say, that doesn't work for me at this stage of my life.
I feel like, and probably because of social media, we maybe see it a lot more. Maybe it's been happening all along, but I feel like people are starting to realize they are different people. than they were when they got married or they were when they graduated college, and they're wanting to make these like drastic career changes, or they've been married for 15 years and all of a sudden they don't want to be married anymore. How can you tell the difference between putting a stop to unhealth versus having a midlife crisis and like throwing your life away? Like, how do you know the difference?
Wow. Well, I love this quote from Carolyn Miss. She is big in the spiritual community. She says, if you're living life according to what your soul really wants, you're never compromising yourself. Like, you're never put in a place to betray yourself. So I think when people realize they're really betraying themselves, they numb. They know they're not living the life that they want to live. So they turn to a multitude of distractions, alcohol, Netflix, consuming things that are not healthy for them, just to numb the pain and just to get through another day. Those that I have found that are actually doing the healing work and have decided, I can't live like this anymore, even though it's hard, they have somehow been able to really honor themselves and sit with the pain and try to fill themselves with information and explore healing modalities that might be different and have difficult conversations with their spouses or loved ones on how they can improve their relationship, or maybe it's walking away from a relationship. And that takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage. This journey is not easy. Once you are ready to do the work, it's not. So I get why people don't want to sign up to do it. It's much easier to just move through your life and put one foot in front of the other and just do the best you can. And I think that, sadly, I think that's what the majority are doing in society. And I see it. I see it all the time. And I know that there's a better way to live. You don't have to live your life unfulfilled and just going through the motions of it. You have a right to have more joy in your life and feel fully alive and really live a life that's meant for you, that fills your soul, not everybody else's expectations and desires for you.
Did your reconnection to writing start before or after you got your master's degree?
My reconnection to writing really happened this past year over an incident that was happening at my son's school. So I got a master's degree in psychology. I love psychology. I also loved English. So I got my bachelor's in English and communications, but I really was nerding out on the human experience and the mind and how it worked and why we do the things that we do, and exploring innate human behaviors and how those could be changed, and that our brain is malleable. We can change at any moment. We're not hardwired. So all these topics were of huge interest, but on a personal level, we were going through some really difficult times with my son and middle school life and cyber bullying situations and things like that. And I basically just started writing our story for our community to listen to. And in that, it just kind of spiraled. And I wanted to help people who were going through difficult times. And then it expanded from there. So it just got bigger and bigger.
What was the moment in your life personally where you woke up one day and said, I'm not living like this anymore?
I think sometimes we reach a dark night of the soul moment, they call it in the spiritual community. Mine was around 40. My father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. He was pretty young, 70, I mean, not too young, but 72. And I was in the doctor's office and the doctor said, you have 6 months to live. And my father accepted that prognosis. I always think you can accept the diagnosis, but you can't accept the prognosis. But he accepted that he was going to die in 6 months, and he did, 6 months to the day. So he passed away, and he was brilliant. He had so many unfulfilled dreams. He really wanted to explore them, and he wasn't able to. So that was a pivotal moment for me, burying my father before 40. And then I started to really question, well, how do I want to live the rest of my life? If I am so lucky to be given another 40 years, how do I want to live now? Like, from what place? Is it going to be doing what everybody else thinks I should be doing? Or is it going to be pursuing things that actually fill me up? And they may not make sense to anyone, even myself some days. I'm like, but I'm following what I really love to do. And I just wish I lived from this place so much earlier. And it's not that my life was not great. I built a great life. I have a wonderful husband, 2 wonderful children, bought the house, like wonderful in-laws, wonderful family. But there were still dreams that I wanted to pursue that I just buried. So I think that was just a pivotal moment for me. I wanted to really live more fully with more vitality. And I was actually reading a lot about people's near-death experiences after burying my father. And one of the things that kept coming up in the research that I did, they all wish they had lived a life more true to themselves. So they actually had these moments in the spiritual realm. They came back. So when they came back into their bodies, they're like, I am not living according to what anyone else wants for me. I am living now tuned into myself and what I want. And they just started living with more wholeness, more aliveness, more vitality. It's incredible. And they weren't going back. They didn't care what anybody else thought. They were so comfortable with now taking complete ownership of their lives and living from a more authentic place. So essentially, that's why we're here today. I don't want people to wait till they're on their deathbeds going, I wish I would have lived life for me. I want you to see that you don't have to fall into this limitless life. You can rise to a life that is limitless. You can live life the way that you want it, the way that you see fit for you, the way that you deem things meaningful. Like you have the right to explore that and honor that for yourself at any point in your life. So I'm here with you. I'm on the journey with you. It never ends. I'm constantly doing the work. Together, I want to see how we can go through this journey towards our higher self and rise to be the best version we can be.